Hi there, this is Jonathan Ginsberg. I'm a Social Security disability attorney. And one of the questions I get from people most often is, how do I win my case early? Everybody by now knows that Social Security is kind of in a mess, the disability system, that it can take 2 years, 3 years from the time you apply before you get in front of a judge and get a decision, which is ridiculous, but that's a story for a different day. So the question is, how do you get approved early? And the answer to that is you want to try to get approved at the initial application stage. In other words, when you file your application, the case goes to an adjudicator, decision maker, or claims adjuster at an agency of the state you live in. And that claims adjuster or adjudicator has the authority to issue a fully favorable decision if the medical record shows that you have a very serious problem. And basically what happens behind the scenes is that the adjudicator will look at the file and say, this looks pretty serious. He or she will run it by a medical consultant that works part-time for Social Security. And if the medical consultant says, yes, this is a case that should be approved, they'll go ahead and issue an approval. So what you're looking for, what the adjudicators are looking for basically are listing level cases. And by listings, I mean Social Security's Blue Book or listing of medical impairments. And I'm going to put a link to that listing, to the listings site here. In fact, I've got a website called meetinglisting.com, which is devoted to the listings themselves, where you can learn about them. But basically, what the listings are, they describe 14 body systems, things like the cardiovascular system, musculoskeletal system, immune system, mental health system, as it were, all these different body systems and various impairments that go along with the system. So, for example, under the musculoskeletal system, you might have a herniated disc that causes problems with walking. You may have severe degeneration of weight-bearing joints. The cardiac system, you may have heart transplant. You may have congestive heart failure. You may have vascular disease with DVT. And again, there's dozens and dozens of these medical issues, but typically they're pretty serious medical problems. And a lot of times they're problems that can be identified by diagnostic testing, like an MRI or a CT scan. They're not typically things that are subjective in nature because, again, Social Security is looking for things that non-judges, these adjudicators, they can make decisions on. So, again, these are things that are typically subject to an objective type of test. So what I do in every case is I look at the medical record of all my new cases and say, okay, what listing does this is this closest to, and can I figure out a way to meet a listing? And what I do in my office is I will create a checklist form, send it to a treating doctor, and say, do we meet the listing here? And if we do, that's usually a pretty good recipe for a quick decision. Now, if that does not happen, the other thing you can look at is if you have a situation where your medical problem is not quite at listing level, but it's close, but there's some other issue. For example, there is a cardiovascular problem, but you have severe depression, or you have a cardiovascular problem with a herniated disc. When you put them in combination, you can make an argument that this is equivalent to a listing in terms of the impairment. And sometimes you can get an adjudicator to approve on that basis. And certainly that would be the basis of my argument to a judge. So if you have that, that's something else you can do. And in fact, I would tell you that the listings are a good place to look just to understand what Social Security thinks is serious. Because obviously if something is going to meet or is going to be within the listings, that says that Social Security recognizes that at least at some point that disease or condition is quite serious. So even if it's not at listing level, that's usually a pretty good start as far as getting your case ready for a hearing if it does go to that, or trying to make an argument that you should get approved at the initial or reconsideration administratively because you have almost listing level condition plus something else. So that's the way I analyze cases, and that's typically the way I try to get cases approved early, is really by focusing on those listings. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up on YouTube. Please like it on Facebook. Share it on Twitter, any other social media you have, Google+, whatever it may be. That's very helpful to me. If you have any questions about this or anything else I've talked about in my videos or anything about Social Security in general, please let me know. Again, I'm Jonathan Ginsberg, and I hope to hear from you soon. Thanks a lot.